If you've watched a YouTube video before, you've probably seen stock footage from a site called Storyblocks. This is, from what I can understand, kind of the go-to stock footage site for pretty much any long-form video content these days. And today, we're going to completely redesign the search interface for it. So here we are, we've got their style guide as always, really beautiful spattering of blacks and grays, nice yellow and blue hues. They're using a really cool display font called Dejanir Headline. I don't know how to pronounce it, I'll put it in the description. And as always, we've got our user stories to go alongside here to kind of point us in the right direction as to what we're building. Not going to go through these, let's just start this redesign. One of the first treatments that I applied here was moving the search input into the header itself. Whenever you're working with a SaaS platform or a website that's primary purpose is to have users find content, having search in the header is kind of a no-brainer. So I've reduced the main width of the logo, removed the name entirely. We're leaving the logo in there for some brand recognition and put the search in there instead. This amount of text in the page header was a little bit much, and the designer in me really wanted to take it out, but I had an intuition that this was here for search engine reasons, so I left it in for now, but ultimately came back and caved to the temptation and tidied this up. This is where things got much harder. I had to fit in several controls and data display elements into this one little space above the main content area, and I really struggled for a very long time to figure out the optimal layout for all the controls. I think ultimately I arrived at a really good solution, but just want to underscore that this took me a very long time to arrive at. I really like the idea of giving users a quick way to search for other related topics based on a given query, but I really didn't like the treatment that was applied currently, and I figured there must be a better way to kind of have these little elements hover below the search controls, but not pull away too much visual attention. So here I'm experimenting with lots of different treatments that we can apply to maybe get the best of both worlds. As a side note, I gotta say, if you're ever feeling upset or down at all, just looking at stock photos of dogs really helps with that. I was feeling down when I was starting to record this, and I just magically felt better, and I'm pretty sure it was because I saw all those good boys just staring at the camera. Coming back to the design for a moment, I got the impression that the existing search result item had just way too many elements overlaid on top of the video. It was very distracting and I didn't really know what to do. So instead, I'm simplifying that dramatically, and anything that's interactable will also have a label here. Here I'm making sure that all the primary actions are easily accessible, with the main one being download, highlighted in yellow, and then adding some secondary icons to the right here. And I'm going to cut through a lot of this for you, but I just want to underscore that I spent quite a lot of time just staring at my phone here, trying to figure out the really precise adjustments needed to get the really clean aesthetic I was looking for. And I really want to underscore that just looking at things in the correct context in which you're designing them, meaning a mobile phone in this case, can often be the difference between a somewhat clunky design and a really polished UI. Here I'm revisiting the page header element and just getting rid of a lot of that search engine text, simplifying things and making it easier to use in context. I'm also just now realizing that we completely omitted the category select element that's in the existing UI's search control from this new UI, so there's no way to switch between different contexts. And I'm thinking that a more appropriate way to display the information to the user and allow them to switch between contexts is using a secondary navigation. First, they'll perform a search, and then they can switch the category if they so choose. I cut out a lot of the live footage of me looking like a tortured soul trying to figure out what to do with these search and filter controls. I'm trying to do too much at once here. This is fundamentally the problem. Adding a filter, a sort, and an alternate search select element is just way too much. So I'm like scrambling for different UI elements that can maybe separate everything visually and give it its own space. But ultimately I decided to just simplify everything and put all of the controls inside the one filter button. And I think that makes for a much more intuitive UI that solves all of the design problems in a way that doesn't totally overwhelm the user with controls. And now I'm creating this super mega filter modal that's just going to have absolutely everything you could possibly do to filter or sort this view. I feel like this is an appropriate treatment for mobile because it takes us away from having so many controls on one screen and instead splits them up into two different screens. And of course, given that we're putting all of these controls in this modal, we can't really have it take up anything less than full screen. It's deserving of a full screen experience, and that's what we end up giving it. And of course, with any sort of mobile experience, or really web experience for that matter, you have to think about the full user journey. So here I'm adding in an extra frame to showcase the difference between what the view would look like with filters applied and then with no filters applied. Alright, I'll spare you having a look at the cringe designer glasses anymore. So here we have arrived at what I think is a significantly more usable search experience for Storyblocks. I'm able to do pretty much everything I would need to do to actually find some stock footage. I can search, it's a primary function of the site, it happens natively. I can select from various sub-criteria. I can filter even further and get really granular results. And then when I'm ready, I can just start scrolling through everything that's been presented to me, and then either preview it, save it for later, or just download it. And I have a little in-context notification telling me, hey, if you do click this, by the way, you only have 5 more downloads available. So that's how I would reimagine the Storyblocks search experience. Let me know in the comments if you would do it differently, or if you think, there's a better approach to this sort of UI. And as always, I hope you found something meaningful in this redesign, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.